Web3 TV.
Hello and welcome to Web3 TV. I'm Lisa Amnegard, and today we're at Token 2049 here in Dubai. Joining me right now is Alex, co-founder and CTO of Parfin. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And is this your first time attending a Token 2049 event?
It is actually, I've been to the ones in Singapore, so last year, and it was great. First time in the Dubai one.
How's the Dubai one so far?
Oh, it's so busy. I mean, I'm very impressed. You know, you can barely walk in the corridors. There's so many people, but it's really great.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And you have a really interesting project. Tell me a little bit more about Parfin and what you're doing.
Yeah, so at Parfin, the company was founded in 2019, and the goal has always been to enable financial institutions to use blockchain. And that's what we've been doing since then. And we have basically two products. One is a platform that has been very focused in LATAM. And we basically in LATAM, we basically, all the big financial institutions that are doing anything with crypto, buy, sell crypto to their end clients. Like, for example, if a bank wants to offer Bitcoin and other digital assets to their clients, then they're using probably our platform. We have a big market share in LATAM. But then there's a new product, which we are very excited about, which is a new blockchain made for banks, and it's called Rails.
And what is that? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so one of the things we realized is that banks, they really want to be on blockchain Rails, right? And I think people sometimes have the impression that banks don't like blockchain or something like this, but it's not true. They like blockchain, they want to be there, they want to make money in the end of the day, and they see an opportunity. But the problem is that the blockchains, the way they are today, it's very difficult for them to use because there's no compliance, there's no scalability, there's no privacy.
Because that's what I think. So you think because there's crypto, which is very decentralized, and then there are banks and institutions which are very centralized. So how does that work together?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing we realized when talking to so many banks is that they don't really want decentralization per se. Decentralization, the power of decentralization is to make something censorship resistant, right? So, for example, Ethereum or Bitcoin, they have so many miners, it's difficult for a single actor to go and take over the whole system, right? That's the power of it. But banks, on the other hand, they are regulated, and they don't want that. They want to have control over their technology. And so what we realized is that what they really want is to be on blockchain Rails, and particularly on the EVM ecosystem, right? And so what we have done with Rails is we built two pieces. So there's two parts to Rails. One is a public chain, which is an Ethereum layer 2, basically, based on the Arbitrum Orbit stack. So it's like a layer 2, like a normal layer 2. But the thing is that all the accounts, they need to be linked to a bank account. So imagine if you open MetaMask, then you have to then connect your MetaMask account to your bank so that we know you have been KYC'd by a bank. So that's on the public chain side. And this is we have a test net, it's coming live now. We are gonna go for mainnet later this year. The other side of the system is a system of permission private chains. And now this is very interesting to banks because what we've done is there is no consensus. And when I say this, people are like, oh my gosh, there's no consensus. No, there's no consensus because you think about it, it's almost like a database, an EVM database. So banks install this on-prem, and so they have total privacy. It's super fast. They can reach like 10,000, 15,000 transactions per second, and they can use it internally. But crucially, this system communicates with the public chain. So banks can, for example, mint tokens privately in a way that is safe for them, and then port over some of those tokens to the public chain for distribution, for example.
And for, let's say for banks and institutions that are looking into implementing systems like this, what is important for them to know?
So it's basically like when banks are looking for a system, the first thing they need to decide is which kind of ecosystem are they going to use. Are they going to go for like something, I don't know, less known, more exotic, or are they going to go for EVM, which is the one that has the biggest ecosystem around, right? Normally what we see is that, and we work with like major financial institutions, for example, central banks in Latin America, the Central Bank of Brazil, we've been very close for the last 2 years working on the CBDC project there. We worked with JP Morgan recently. They issued a report called the EPIC report. People can Google it online. And we analyzed all our technology, the privacy aspect and everything. But so what we realized is that first thing is that they want to be on the EVM ecosystem. The second thing is, of course, they need a lot of governance, scalability. But one of the major things is that they need privacy. because privacy is key. Banks, they need to protect information of their clients.
Why is privacy so important?
Yeah, well, first of all, they need to protect information of the clients, obviously, right? You don't want people, looking at your bank account right now and knowing, you have this money, you paid for these things or that thing. But also because banks, they compete with each other, right? And so a bank doesn't want the competitor to be able to see everything that they do. I mean, this is a big no-no, right? And so one of the problems with the EVM ecosystem is that on the one hand, it's the biggest ecosystem and the one that has the most innovation, so they like that. On the other hand, there's no privacy. And I think Vitalik just recently published a blog talking about, a roadmap for privacy in Ethereum. And one of the things we have been doing, and especially because of the work with central banks, is we developed a technology called Enigma that offers most of what Vitalik is already talking about. It's based on zero knowledge technology and homomorphic encryption. So there's a lot of built-in technology there. But if you plug this into an EVM chain, for example, in Rails, it comes as default, then you can do private transactions and private DVP. So DVP is delivery versus payments, right? So you can pay for something and get like an NFT or anything in return, and it's completely private.
So you're already one step ahead of the game.
Yeah, we like to think so, yes.
And if you're, let's say, not a bank, you're, let's say, someone who's building a DeFi project or something like that, can you also use Rails for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea is what we are ultimately trying to do is we are trying to bring all the liquidity that exists in banks and the TradFi system to blockchain. This is what we're trying to do. Because if you look today, there's maybe 100 million, 200 million users of blockchain, Ethereum, and so on. But banks, they have 6 billion clients. It's much, much bigger. And also the liquidity, banks have about $300 trillion of liquidity if you sum up all the traditional financial markets. We are trying to bring the users and the liquidity of the traditional financial markets onto blockchain, specifically on the Ethereum ecosystem. And so, we are very excited with that because I think this is what the community needs right now. We need fresh, new users, and we want the DeFi developers and anyone that wants to develop and knows how to develop any kind of DeFi protocol to come and do it in the Rails public chain, because that's the expectation. The banks are going to be there. The clients of the banks are going to be there. So if you develop something in the Rails public chain, you're going to have a lot of liquidity and a lot of users automatically.
I like that. It's very welcoming, inviting innovation, and creating a product that's secure, transparent, but has privacy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's early days still. I'm not saying that we have everything figured out and not everything's working and done, but we have a very clear path in front of us, and we're just executing now.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to learn more about Parfin, how can they find you?
The best way is you can go to the website www.parfin with an N of Navy in the end .io, or go to Rails www.rails, and Rails is RAYLS, so it's Rails.com. So www.rails.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And I'll be bringing you more interviews. My name is Lisa Amnegard, and you're watching Web3 TV.
Web3.tv